Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Higher or Lower, brought to you by oddschecker, Sporty Index and SpreadX. This is the football preview show where we look ahead to the weekend's games and say if we think the eventual results of spread betting markets will be higher or lower than the midpoint. This weekend it is FA Cup, fourth round.
Yeah,
I
normally stop counting at 3 as well.
Yeah, who wants to be in it this year?
No one. No,
who cares?
No one wants
Anyone
to be
in
in
it?
No.
Don't think so. No, I don't know why you would.
Cool. I'm your host, George Ellick. I'm delighted to be joined by Dan Worth and Jack Wright.
Hello.
As we look ahead to the games. I'm in a bit of a rut at the moment. Not in life.
Okay,
in
good. Glad to hear
in
it.
this show, not putting no weight, am I?
No, you're not. We got you covered though. Between the three of us, we're still in profit.
Great. This week is when I turn it around. I'm going
Yes.
back to basics. I'm going back to last season that saw me fly into points and points of profit.
Yeah. And his cup team.
Great, yeah. So, FA Cup fourth round, we're going to kick off with an all-Premier League clash because we do the televised games and obviously when Manchester United play in the FA Cup, they're on television. And that is Manchester United hosting Leicester. Total goal minutes is the market here. 175.5 is the midpoint with SpreadX. Total goal minutes is the total cumulative minutes in which goals are scored within the game. So, for 175, you're looking at quite a lot of goals, or late goals in particular, to get there. 168 to sell, 183 to buy. 3, higher or lower? 3, 2, 1.
Oh, I thought I'd be on my own there.
It's just a high line.
It is just.
No, I'm always very keen, especially in cup games, to get with goals. Especially United at the moment, defensively a shambles. Leicester under Van Nistelrooy, also not particularly good, but 175.5 just seems incredibly high. United in certain games, like Palace last time out, struggling to score. I think this is a classic case to me of that there could be 3 or 4 goals in this game, and so it makes up under 175.5. So a pure price thing is my reasoning here. But Jack, I'm sure you're armed with the facts to tell me why I am wrong.
Not really. This is uncomfortably going high. It is a high line to take on. I think probably both these sides will take it as a welcome break from the league, where they're both, for their certain merits, doing poorly, to say the least. And I think Man United have proved themselves over the last couple of years to be a better cup side than they are a league side, although that's a very low bar to get above. But they have been better in that, to say the least. Both sides can score, both sides can unravel. The jeopardy of the cup, I'm sure we'll hear that line a couple more times before the end of the show. And obviously these sides have met twice here already this season. Once in the cup, which Man United won 5-2 under Van Nistelrooy, and 3-0 in the league under Van Nistelrooy, who's obviously at Leicester. That was his audition to take over Leicester. Sliding doors moment, possibly. I'd argue that the purple patch of Man United season was under Ruud, and since then it's not really been too attractive. But I just feel that this could unravel. There could be some goals in it. It could be some players trying to get into form, and possibly some round pegs in round holes rather than what we've seen from certain sides recently.
Dan?
Yeah, pretty much covered everything off. United have scored at least 3 times in the last 3 games at home against Leicester, so sort of suggests they might do the same here. It's kind of hard to look at, well, to be fair, either of these sides' last game in the FA Cup, as I'm probably going to say for almost every game, because United had really tough opposition in Arsenal, so played a pretty strong team with 5 at the back. I can't imagine they do that against Leicester, but who knows? I'm not hammering.
You're not?
No. Not
Very,
quite.
very different hair.
I was squinting a
Very
moment
different
ago.
hair.
Do you know what?
Very different hair.
Slightly different heritage, accent.
Hair and heritage.
Heritage, yeah.
Salary.
But I think Leicester will come into this thinking they have a chance because, as you said, United are a bit of a shambles. Can't really put your finger on them. And obviously they won 6-2 in their third round game, a game which this market made up 348. So we only need about half of that for a winner here. So hoping both teams can get on the score sheet and it unravels a little bit towards the end. And I think we might get over that line.
Right. Another Manchester side playing in the FA Cup. This time they're away from home at Leyton Orient. Last time City played in the FA Cup, somebody thought they might struggle against Salford.
It was that.
They won 8-0. It's the total goals market is what we're looking at here. 3.95 is the midpoint with SpreadX, 3.85 to sell, 4.05 to buy. So you need 4 goals or more if you're going higher to make profit, 3 goals or lower if you're going lower. 3, 2, 1. I mean, this is, Dan, a case where, like, 3.95. Like, you know, you've got to gamify it a little bit and realise that 4 goals, it's got to be likely.
I think so. Yeah.
So why gone higher?
I think one of the key things for me here is that the FA Cup, to me, is Manchester City's, well, it's their best chance of winning a trophy this season. So I think they're going to take this a little more seriously than maybe they would in previous seasons when they've been...
So still got a very good record in it.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, you're not wrong. But they're obviously off the pace in the Prem. They've got a really tough game in the Champions League. So I think, yeah, this is their best chance of a trophy, and I think they'll just have to go for it. Combined with the fact that, and this was the same reasoning I had for the Salford game, is they have so many players at the moment that need to prove themselves. They've also brought in quite a few players in the window. I think did they spend more than the rest of the 19 teams in the Prem combined? Yeah. So this is a perfect chance for them to come in and start to get embedded. And again, they'll want to hit the ground running. So I think a lot of players that have to prove, or will want to prove themselves, plus their best chance for a trophy. And I think City go all out and keep their foot on the pedal, as again we saw against Salford. So I'm not expecting this to be an 8-0, but I think maybe a 4-0, 5-0. And if Leyton Orient can get on the score sheet, perfect.
Yeah, I fully disagree with you again that it's going to be 4-0, 5-0 in an easy game this for City. I think Orient are currently one of, if not the best team in League One. Obviously not including Birmingham in that, but like right now they're playing at a very, very high level and have been on an incredible run. Richie Wellens is someone who will really back his side against City to go and give them some issues, and I don't think they'll sit off, and I think they'll look to attack, and that's why I think they'll lose.
Yeah.
But in the same way, you know, Salford, for all of their 8-0 defeat, like they had loads of opportunities within the game themselves, and they kind of almost to a fault looked to take the game to City and pay the price for that. I think Orient will do the same, and they might have more joy going forward. You know, if City were playing against a side that I thought would be really resolute defensively and drop off and sit in, then I'd probably be looking to take this on. But because I think Orient will come out and will to take the game to them, it wouldn't surprise me at all if Orient score, in which case, you know, all you're looking for is City to cover the -1 in order for this to win it. So, yeah, I think it should be a really good game. Orient are a good side, playing well at the moment, carrying an attacking threat, won't be overly fazed by City coming to town, even though they'll be very aware they're probably going to lose. I think they'll be looking to at least bloody their nose. Jack?
Yeah, I first thing I did actually was to flick over to the SpreadX Fixed Odds coupon and see what over 3.5 goals was in that, and it's 8-11, so it shows you where the traders are thinking the goals will be there. And I agree, I'd say that's about right. And I agree also with you that I think Leyton will give it a go, and I think Man City...
Orient. Can't call them Leyton.
Did I just call them Leyton? I'm so excited about the rest of the sentence that I am cut short. Leyton Orient, cut that out.
Either Leyton Orient or Orient, fine.
The O's?
Yeah.
Okay, the O's will be...
Wellens aside?
Oh, stick with the O's. I think, Man City have given sides encouragement this season to actually have a go at them, whereas previous seasons it's been like, oh God, here's Man City, we're going to have to try and batten down the hatches, see what we can do. But every team's really had a little bit of a go at them and generally had some kind of success. So it wouldn't surprise me for the O's to get on the score sheet, as you say, and then with the Man City, even a rotated Man City, and probably that's going to be more beneficial. That we've seen that against Salford, that they brought in the kind of understring as such, and it's been a goal fest. And I think they've got the players there that haven't got that baggage that they've carried kind of throughout the season, that can come in and just go and look to knock on the door and break into that first team. So very interesting, but I imagine a bit of a goal fest.
Bit of a goal fest. We're all in agreement about that one. On to Birmingham hosting Newcastle. Newcastle, recording this on Thursday morning. Newcastle last night with a brilliant performance at home to Arsenal, winning that game 2-0, beating Arsenal over 2 legs in the Carabao Cup semi-final 4-0, booking their place in the final. What game that'll be, we'll see what happens tonight in Liverpool against Tottenham. Birmingham, they had a big midweek cup win as well.
They did. Huge.
Yeah, 1-0 away at Stevenage
in
the
favourite trophy.
Yeah, Jay Stansfield with a goal with about 10 minutes to go. We're looking at Newcastle total goal minutes here. 115 is the midpoint. So this is total cumulative minutes in which Newcastle score goals. 110 to sell, 120 to buy. 3, 2, 1. This is my strongest bet by miles.
Is it?
Yeah. by miles.
Mm.
Birmingham, runaway leaders, top of League One.
Yeah.
I've had quite a lot to say on not top 20 this season about not being convinced by them, about them flattering to deceive at some points, being relatively fortunate in terms of how clinical they've been from a finishing perspective. But one thing I cannot deny, and the key reason why they're going to win the league this season and why they're probably going to win it comfortably and why they're probably going to next season be very strong in the Championship, is that they are defensively absolutely superb. Like, well clear of anyone else from a defensive standpoint in the league. It's similar to Leeds at Ellen Road this season in the Championship, where when Birmingham are at home, regardless of opposition this season in League One, they just don't concede any chances. And yet I completely accept that Newcastle are a different level. However, Newcastle come into this off the back of a massive win. The whole Newcastle need to win a trophy thing, normally in the FA Cup would be so important, but they know they've got a final coming up. I just don't think this is particularly important to them. Up against a Birmingham side who will be bang at it, who under a new ownership will see this as their first opportunity on the big stage to show everyone what they're all about. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Newcastle rotate off the back of that game in midweek. We saw, I think, in Arsenal's performance last night, how often off the back of a really important game and a really resounding win, you can then drop off a little bit. You can have a bit of a hangover from that game. I wouldn't be surprised if Newcastle don't score, personally. So I'd have 0 as a massive runner. I think 1 is a big runner. And even if they score 2 goals, fair chance it finishes up under 115. So I'm a big seller here. So Q, Birmingham 0, Newcastle 8.
Fingers crossed.
Dan?
Well, I think there's a world where your reasoning can still exist, that Birmingham are pretty astute at the back and keep Newcastle at bay for a little while, and my side still comes in here because I think undoubtedly...
Little while. Don't be so patronising.
I don't think Birmingham will be able to stand up to Newcastle. I agree with you. I think they're a very good team. They're too good for League One, as you'd expect them to be with the amount that they've spent. They have decent firepower. They've conceded the second fewest shots in League One, but it's in League One. Newcastle are a very good Premier League side, and I think that quality will show. Also, and I have no idea what they're going to do against Newcastle, but they did rotate quite heavily in their win over Lincoln in round 3. Round 3 sounds weird, doesn't it? In the third round.
If you want to go full, you say the third round proper.
Third round proper.
Because obviously you've already had a third round in the qualifying.
I've always wondered what that actually means. But third round proper.
And next season's FA Cup's probably about to start.
Yeah. Right, well, each round goes on for a full week now, doesn't it? With games from Thursday till Tuesday or whatever. So yeah, they need to get that underway. Derailed from my rationale, which is actually quite convenient because I don't think I have much more to say. I think Newcastle they'll score at least once in the second half, which I think puts this bet in good stead.
Jack?
Yeah, I'm going to knit those two together really to support my argument, and I very much liked what you were saying about Birmingham, and I agree. I just think there are levels apart from these two sides. They are a League One side. Yes, they have recruited heavily. They've spent for the level an incredible amount of money, but they've picked up players that are still way underneath the calibre that Newcastle operate at, and we've seen the difference between Championship sides and Premier League sides, let alone a good performing League One side against a Premier League side. And I just think that they will make it difficult for Newcastle. I'm certain of that. But that brings in, as Dan said, my rationale behind it is that I think Newcastle might well rotate, but they might well have to bring some weapons off the bench to actually get either back into the game or get the game won, which would suggest a couple of late goals. So my thinking behind it is that Newcastle aren't going to go and steamroll Birmingham and score 4, 5, 6 goals, but they're going to have to work hard and work late to get the job done. I'd imagine Callum Wilson will probably come in for Isak on the bench, but I think they will bring them off to get the job done. But the other thing is that I do disagree with, that I think the FA Cup does remain important for them. And also, that was an absolute masterclass of a semi-final, two-legged semi-final from them, both away and at home against Arsenal. Superb. They have got to kind of come down from the euphoria that was before, during and after that game. That's the one issue. But again, I think that might strengthen the argument that they might have a little bit of a hangover initially, metaphorically speaking, of course, and then have to kick in late. And so I don't think they want to let that absolutely brilliant performance against Arsenal get tarnished so quickly by then getting dumped out of the FA Cup by what is still a League One side.
Agree to disagree.
Let's do it.
I'll fight this time next week. 2 more games on the card before we get to our best bets. Now looking at Brighton against Chelsea and the total goals market. Yeah, 2 more thrilling all Premier League clashes. That's what the FA Cup's all about.
Magic of the Cup.
It's just such a shame.
Oh,
And I know it's obviously driven by viewing numbers.
Yeah, it drives. It's one of my biggest pet hates in football is that you know full well when the draw for the FA Cup's out and you've got this game or let's say another one that you could go, oh, get it on telly. No, it'll be the one that we see twice a season already.
But I just think there's almost a responsibility to, like, the viewing figures might be by higher for the Brighton Chelsea, but then you've got to sell the dream more. You've got to sell the magic. You've got to push the games. And I think there is always a risk, or a perceived risk from TV execs probably, that if you put a David versus Goliath on and it's 4-0 after 20 minutes, then like you picked a dud.
Yeah.
But for every dud you get a diamond.
Exactly right. Yeah, you've got to scour hard.
Yeah, there was loads of stories in the third round that maybe didn't end in a underdog victory, but like would have kept people going. Right, like Bromley going up against Newcastle. You can probably think of loads of others.
No, I've got
well, the Tottenham one was on, wasn't it?
I've got a 7-week-old child. I can't remember anything before yesterday.
Yeah, fair enough.
Tottenham won against non-league and it went to.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So it's out there. But I think if you put a vote out for people, would they want to see? Last round was Villa West Ham when it was the one you think, what's that doing on TV?
Yeah.
Or a like mid-table Premier League side against a League One side, something like that. Then surely people want to vote because one, it's a bit different, and two, you have got the cup set.
For sure.
Exactly.
I mean, Dan, as a fan of a League One side, what's it like?
Well, we're not in it, are we, anymore?
No, but as in like generally just being like a minnow, having to deal with like the bias against clubs like Reading.
Well, fortunately, because my club, Reading, is relatively big in League One.
Oh, I didn't know. Sorry, I didn't realise that.
We do tend to get a little bit more favourable than some others in League One. But I don't massively care at the moment about the cups.
Yeah, fair enough.
We're on quite often now, thanks to the Sky deal. That means all of our midweek games are
Too right.
on Sky Sports Plus.
Yeah.
It's hard to compete when you've got other sides in the league filming commercials that are going to be for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That's
the ones that take your best striker.
And them sides. Ooh.
Wish them all the best.
Yeah.
Right, back to Brighton Chelsea. Yeah, total goals with Sporting Index 3.25 is midpoint, 3.15 to sell, 3.35 to buy. 3, 2, 1. Jack, why is this going to be a goal fest?
Well, you mentioned it last week.
Thank you.
When you see the Brighton, you generally go high in goals. And
Yeah.
you couldn't have been more last week on that one. 7-0. So they certainly delivered there, and Chelsea do as well, especially away from home. But I think this has become a big game for Brighton. They had a good start to the season under Hertzler, then had a little bit of a wobble. They drew a lot of games. But it was actually this round of the FA Cup, the last round of the FA Cup that kind of got them on a little bit of a mini good run. And people was going, I'll Brighton back. But, they beat a poor Norwich side, injury-ravaged, suspension-ravaged Norwich side in the third round, blew them away. But then it was Ipswich, poor Premier League side, and then Man United. I think you mentioned them earlier. But I just feel that, there is goals in the game. Simple as that, really. Both sides have got clear defensive issues. We've seen that last week, obviously, in full force from Brighton. But Chelsea swapped the goalkeeper out. He looked nervous, especially with the ball at his feet. And so that spread across the back 4, 5 and throughout the stand. So, I just feel that there's goals in it. Again, we talked about the jeopardy of the cup here. It's the fact that there's nothing to lose as such. If you're a goal down, you might as well throw everything at it. So we shouldn't worry too much about Chelsea, of course. The other factor there is the rotation side of things that we've mentioned a bit already. We've seen what Chelsea do in European competition this season. They are probably the most well-equipped side if it comes down to bringing in their sort of second string. If you can bring the likes of Nkunku up front. Interesting to see Maresca saying that he'd been unfair on Nkunku and that he'd need to give him a bit more game time, which I think was alluding to the fact that he'll be starting here. And they said that's not a bad option to have, is it? They've got lots of good players ready to come into this one, however they rotate. But I say it's a big game, I think, for both sides. Open, attacking, plenty of goals.
Dan?
Yeah, I was actually expecting a higher line here,
Same,
which is
same.
why I've gone higher, sorry, when you see these two teams. As you mentioned, Jack, you sort of think goals. The only thing I have to add really on yours is both teams have scored in 5 of the last 6 meetings between these two. So you imagine both teams get on the score sheet and that will be 2 in. So you only need to double that for this to be a winner.
You're halfway there.
Job done.
Yeah, I'll do me.
The only thing I'm slightly worried about is often when a team have a performance and a result like that defeat against Forest, they tighten up and you see them. Obviously from a manager's point of view, it's their worst nightmare, and they come out the next week and play a little bit more within their shell in order to kind of ensure that doesn't happen again. But I think with Chelsea coming to town, it's unlikely that's going to happen because Chelsea do just attack so relentlessly. The way they set up and the way they play is just so conducive to goals at both ends. And I'd be really surprised if, especially in a cup game where it's always going to be end to end, and if a team goes ahead, it just means that one of the sides has to kind of throw everything at it. Both of these sides are very good at attacking transition too, which should help. So yeah, I'm happy to go over goals here. Finally, another David versus Goliath story. Champions League, Villa up against relegation battle is Tottenham. Villa home here. This is the supremacy market with Sporting Index. 0.7 Villa favourites over Tottenham. So higher is a Villa win, lower is Spurs or the draw. 3, 2, 1. On your own. I thought this would be right up your street. I thought you'd do the whole Villa got Villa. Don't know why I thought that way. I thought you'd be like reversing the trend, but you're with
I'm going with.
You're with Villa.
I am with Villa. Yeah.
Sorry, put myself in a right tiz there.
I was worried for a minute.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've gone with Villa. Yeah, and not a massively confident pick. I'll be honest with you, but I just feel that Villa, with a week's recovery and at home, have a good chance to win this. Again, Emery does love his cup competition, so I think we'll put out a strong enough side to look to take care of Tottenham. Here, obviously, there's a doubt about Ollie Watkins with his injury, but I thought Milan came in and done very well last week. They've obviously made some good signings in the transfer window as well. That lad Rashford apparently didn't fit in at Manchester United, I think was his last club he was at. So
yeah.
You caught that in the news. That went under the radar a little bit, didn't it? But Asensio as well. I think Disasi's a fair decent pickup just to strengthen them defensively as well. So as for Spurs, of course, as you mentioned already, we're recording on Thursday morning. They've got a huge game after we recorded this tonight against Liverpool, at Liverpool. And again, they've got more injury problems. So if you get offered the chance to be a Tottenham centre-back, I'd just turn it down for your own well-being, really, to be fair. Dragusin, the latest to suffer with a not even a minor injury, is it? It's like they're picking up really, really serious injuries. ACL for him. So again, what kind of side they're going to put out tonight? I know Mickey van der Ven is back, but I don't think he's kind of been ruled out as far as being good enough to, or fit enough to be able to start. So again, it's going to be a patchwork side tonight, let alone what they're going to then face at the weekend. So I just feel that Villa will have enough in this one to get the job done. Against the Spurs side, just make no bones about it, are bang out of form. They won last week against Brentford, which was a bit of a surprise. That's 7 winless games prior to that in the league. But they conceded 20-odd shots again in that game, and the XG was over 2 for Brentford. So it's not as if they absolutely cruised it and controlled it out. So I'm going to take Villa to say get the better of them in this one.
Yeah, I don't know. It feels like a line that is so heavily recency bias baked, if that makes sense, where obviously Spurs aren't in great form right now, but as you say, they have reversed it a little bit with that result against Brentford, and we'll see what they do tonight. And I think we'll understand, especially with them going to Liverpool with that lead, it'll be interesting to see how they approach the game, because realistically, they should be a bit more pragmatic, but whether or not they do is going to be. Although Newcastle obviously paid off for them attacking the game as they did yesterday. I can't shake the fact that Villa aren't playing very well and haven't been playing very well for quite a long time. And now part of that might be a focus on their biggest game of the last couple of weeks, which was the Celtic game, which they just about got through, having been pegged back initially. But if you take out the Celtic game, you've got the 2-2 draw against Arsenal, which is obviously decent form. The 1-1 loss at Monaco, a 1-1 draw at home to West Ham, where they were the poorer team, and then a 2-0 defeat at Wolves. And even going back further, where you had 3 consecutive wins, the 2-1 home win over Leicester, like a solitary goal victory over a team really struggling, a 2-1 home win against West Ham in the Cup against a West Ham team that at the time was struggling. Like it's not that impressive. And they're coming up against a Spurs side who, they've had their issues, but still are a team with quality throughout the side, and we know are very much capable of putting decent form together, and have won 3 of their last 4 games in all competitions. So, it's just enough doubt for me just to take on Villa, especially given how high the supremacy line is. But it's just under 1, which seems high to me. How do you see it? Dan?
Exactly the same as you. That was almost to the word what I was planning on saying.
I read your notes.
Yeah.
So
haven't been convinced with Villa of late, but obviously they made a few signings, a few good signings, who we will likely see here. So there's that unknown. I don't know why I'm trying to come up with an argument against us after saying I completely agree with you, but
I don't know the signings, but I think they'll be kind of irrelevant here.
Yeah.
What do you think of Rashford to Villa? We'll talk about
I think it's a good move for him.
I think it's a good move for him if he's going to make the most of it. Basically, I think he's obviously such a talented player, but he just hasn't played much football recently.
Mm-hmm.
And for Villa to take a chance on Rashford, on Asensio, on Marlon, players who we know how much quality they've got, but realistically haven't shown it for a long time. It could be genius, or you could just be buying assets of a value that is no longer accurate to their ability to impact football games.
Yeah, Rashford does think that he's going to go there and absolutely rip it up.
And I hope he does.
In the short term, certainly. And but as I say, it's a bit of a risk with those players that have not quite clicked over the recent time.
Yeah, it could be a Lingard to West Ham, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Go there and have solid.
They'd take that, wouldn't they? That's
back end of the season. And Emery is probably definitely in the top 3 managers that I would say could get the best out of those players. So I think they're exciting for Villa fans, and good moves for the players. It's just whether.
In essence, they only need one of those to really click. 2 would be phenomenal for them, but there's a high ceiling there for certain.
Sure. High ceiling, low floor.
Very low floor.
Right, on to the naps now, and Dan is back in nap form.
Yeah, sort of.
What's your nap? What's your best bet this weekend?
So my best bet this weekend is another market that I've enjoyed this season, and it's penalty goal minutes in Brighton versus Chelsea, a buy of at 15.5. I'm going into the Premier League for my stats, which I know this is an FA Cup game, so you may argue is slightly irrelevant, but in the Premier League, Brighton topped the table for most goals conceded from the spot with 6, and in second place, you guessed it, is Chelsea. Chelsea scored a penalty against Brighton. Palmer scored a penalty for Chelsea against Brighton when they last met. So I'm just thinking penalties here, and it's quite a low line and lots to play for. So I'm thinking big calls for Jared Gillett. Gillet on the whistle.
What is it? Gillett?
It's Gillett.
I think it's Gillett.
Yeah. You don't like Gillet either, do you?
Gillet,
No, I hate Gilets as well.
I did mean that. Not being Jared. Jared's a fine.
No, he's great.
Specimen of a man.
He's refereed Chelsea 7 times, and he's yet to give them a penalty. So this is where it
unsustainable.
all comes. He has in one of the games.
Sustainable?
No, that's why he's going to give a pen here.
I know. I'm agreeing with you.
When he refereed Man
Never listen to the
United
microphone.
versus Chelsea,
Yeah.
he did give 2 penalties in one game, but both to Man United. So, penalties.
Blimey. Just seen
Match penalties.
I'll give you each a guess as to who Carlisle United have just appointed their new manager.
Is it Gerrard?
Nope, that's your guess.
Oh.
He has managed and played at the very highest level.
Wow.
But
Sam
most recently, he also managed in League Two. Mark Hughes.
Oh, wow.
Sparky. Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah? Okay. Jack, what's your best bet? Carlisle to get relegated.
It was at the start of the season. That's good. Good news. My best bet here is in Southampton versus Burnley. So at the moment, Premier League versus the Championship, could be vice versa if we're playing again next season. This is the lowest goal line of the 4th round, or certainly the total goal minutes. It's set at a midpoint of 124, and I'm going against the Burnley theme here. I'm going higher than 124. Mainly because this will not be the Burnley side that have only conceded 9 goals in the Championship this season, which is absolutely mind-blowing. This is not going to be the Burnley side that will have James Trafford in goal, goalkeeper that is potentially going to be forcing JJ Watt out of retirement and into playing for the Cincinnati Bengals. Heavily rotated. They obviously played your side, Reading, in round 3.
They did.
And obviously that went to extra time, didn't it? But I just think this is a game that Burnley aren't really massively interested in. It will be a completely different setup to what we've seen. We obviously saw them during the week against your side, Oxford. They created plenty of chances themselves and just missed them. So, maybe Ashley Barnes can stick 1 or 2 away when he probably starts this one. But I also think Southampton has shown a bit of teeth. They've got a bit of momentum from the fact that they actually beat Ipswich. It was a massive, massive result for them last weekend in the Premier League. Jurich has got them, showing a little bit of teeth going forward. They've scored in each of their last 5 games now. They've scored 9 goals in total across those games as well. Last round they beat Swansea 3-0. I just think this one might be a little bit more open and goal heavy than what we've assumed from Burnley games over the course of the season. And I say, as we talked about before in the FA Cup, obviously if there is a goal, it completely changes the shape of the game, and there's no reason for any tightness, and that could well open things up. But yeah, I expect a few goals in here. We don't need too many, with 124 as the midpoint, and again it could even be tight with a couple of later goals in the second half.
The keeper they brought in against us was
Hradky.
not much cop. Lewis Wing's the only player to score against Burnley in the last 10 games. And I don't know if you saw the goal, but it was from outside the box, as you'd expect from Lewis Wing, but I mean, I would have saved it. It's absolute p-roller.
Coventry against Ipswich, for me, a game that is Saturday 3 o'clock when it should just, in my mind, pretty obviously be on TV, personally, even though it was a championship game last season. But it's still an upwardly mobile championship club up against a struggling Premier League team, which is what the FA Cup is all about. I'm looking at Coventry headed goal minutes here. Jack, you and I spoke about this yesterday.
Yeah,
Coventry have the most headed shots in the Championship this season. Before last night's game against Leeds, it was 91. They scored the most headed goals in the Championship this season, with 11. In Ellis Sims, they have probably the most feared target man striker in the Championship. They're one of the best aerially. And last night against Leeds, they had a header save from Sims in the 58th minute, an unbelievable save from Meslier, probably his only good save of the season so far. And then Bobby Thomas hit the woodwork with a header, that hit the bar in the 90th minute too. That is their threat to me, and I think they're a team who should this weekend cause Ipswich some trouble. And if they do cause Ipswich some trouble, I think it'll be those crosses into the box from deep, aiming for Sims' head. It'll be their route to goal. Like if you look at Coventry goal minutes, 59 to sell, 67 to buy, and headed goal minutes are 12 to sell and 15 to buy. And that to me does not tally with the way that Coventry attack and the way that they look to score goals, the amount of headed chances that they get. So yeah, Coventry headed goal minutes buy at 15 is my best bet of the weekend.
Nice.
Thanks.
Nice. Better luck this one than
let's see. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you haven't got an account with Spreadex or Sporting Index, make sure you click in the show description. New customer offer applies. If you click on that, T's and C's apply, and make sure that you read those through. And losses can exceed your initial deposit when it comes to spread betting. Check out oddschecker for all your fixed odds betting needs, and whoscored.com have you sorted for your stats to inform your betting. We'll be back again next week. Enjoy FA Cup fourth round weekend. And we'll see you then. Please ensure you're gambling responsibly.